Hi, I'm Neil from Board Game Happy, and thank you very much for joining me today on this review of Cafe. This is a 1 to 4 player card tableau building game where you overlap cards and you have 8 rounds in which you need to deliver the most coffee to the shops, the coffee shops, as well as to your warehouse. This is a really fun little game. I would like to say that Kienda very kindly provided me with a review copy, but all thoughts are definitely my own. So let me take you down to the table. I'll give you a quick overview of the rules. Then I will show you a demonstration of the game played solo. Then I'll bring you back up to tell you my final thoughts. Okay, cheers! Okay, this is Cafe set up for a solo game. The game actually plays very similar solo to multiplayer, so I don't need to go across the differences. You basically just set the deck up slightly differently, but in essence, what we will do each round is we will reveal 3 new cards. We will take one, we will draft one, and then we will discard the other 2. And what we're trying to do over 8 rounds is score as many points as possible by achieving the fulfillment of these contracts, as well as having lots of cubes in our storage area. You always start off with this card and the equivalent coffee shop card, and you get 1 sugar cube, which you're going to place on the action space of 1, because for each coffee cup you have in your tableau, you have 1 action. So over the course of 8 rounds, you're going to be adding cards. The way you do this is by drafting it, and then you have to place it over covering at least 2 spaces of an existing part of your tableau. So you could do that as your first action, then that would be valid. And I mean, crazy as it is, that would also be valid. So it must cover a minimum of 2 spaces. There is a cost for taking a card with a coffee cup. That will cost you 1 of your resources. If you manage to get 2 ships in your tableau, you do not have to pay for additional coffee cups in the future. So that's the basic setup. Now we're ready to start building our coffee empire. So let's go. So we have 1 action at the moment. So if we take an additional coffee cup, we will have 2 actions next time. So I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to grab this card here, which has got a coffee cup on it. So I'm going to cover over a couple of spaces. Let's cover over these 2 here. That will cost me 1 of my resources, so I'll pay this one. These other 2 cards are discarded. Now I have 2 actions available to me this round. So actions are noted as per the cards. Let me show you. We have action A, action B, action C, and action D. Action A is to add 1 cube on each of these spaces. It's basically collecting or harvesting coffee. You place it on the space equivalent to the colour. And if you have a group of collected colours spaces, you can fill them all up for free or 1 action. If they were in separate places, so for example like that, that would cost you 1 action, and then filling up these 2 would cost you another. But in this example, we can place 2 on here for just the pricely sum of 1 action. The second action you can do is the drying phase. So you take coffee of 1 colour. So if I had numerous brown coffee cubes around my tableau, I could take all of them and add them to this drying space. If I had 2 drying spaces next to each other, I could take 2 different colours and add them. Right, so for example, the brown ones to this one, and if I had another one here, it would be the green ones to this one. Then we have the roasting phase. You take all colours of 1 type of coffee that's currently drying and then add them to the roasting station. If I had 2 roasting stations next to each other, I could do that on 1 action. So I could roast, say, all my browns, and if I had another roaster here, I could roast all my greens at 1 time. And finally, there's action D, which is the delivery. When you do the delivery, you take all coffee that has been roasted and you deliver it. You either deliver it to the coffee shop, this one requires a yellow and red, or you deliver it back to your storage. The reason why you deliver it back to your storage is for points at the end of the game. So that is very basically all of the rules you need to know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this game out now. I will speed up the timer so you get a really good idea as to what I've done. But I'm sure I'm going to do absolutely terribly. I have not stacked the deck at all. I have shuffled this deck. I have no idea what's about to happen. So let me show you a game in quick speed. Okay, you can probably see from that I had a little bit of difficulty fulfilling the final contract. I didn't get this one done up here, so that's a bit of a shame. But what I have done is I've managed to do this contract here, which is worth 4 points. This one here, which is worth 5, and this one here, which is worth 5. So that's 14 points from these 3 contracts. Then you see which one of your coffees has the smallest amounts. So I have 2 greens and 2 browns, so the same. You get 2 points for the smallest one and then 1 point each for the next one. So this will be 2, 4, 5, 6. So it gives me a score of 20, which I'm okay with that. I'm okay. That wasn't too bad a game. So that gives you, hopefully, a really good idea as to how the game plays and what you'll be doing each turn. Let me take back up top and tell you what I think. Right, okay, I hope that gave you a good idea of how Cafe plays. So I'll go through some of the things I like about the game and some of the things I don't like about the game, and then I'll give you my final rating. So some of the things I like about the game is how quick this game is. If you're playing a solo game, or 2, 3 or 4, it's exactly the same speed because everything apart from the drafting is done simultaneously. So I really like that. One thing that isn't so great is the fact that when you play 2, 3 or 4, you might as well be playing solo because the only interaction you have is the players drafting the cards before you get a chance to take one yourself. This is fine, but as long as you're aware of that when you're going into the game, that the player interaction is very, very, very small. You're just aiming to have a better score than them. You can't really do much to change their game, and they can't do much to change your game. So as long as you're aware of that, then that's great. So as I say, I look at this game as a solo game. If I've got a 15-minute window to kill and I really fancy a game, Cafe is definitely one that I will be going for. Other things I like about the game is how the game progresses. If you play well and you build the right things in the right places, by the 7th or 8th round, you're having really big goes and you're able to fulfill lots of really good contracts. Now, this is very much reliant on the luck of the cards that are dealt because you remove a certain amount depending on the number of players at the beginning of the game and then shuffle the remainder that you have, but it could just be that you don't get what you want every single turn. But you've got to adjust your game. It doesn't matter so much because it is such a quick game. If you have a terrible disaster of a game, every round is awful for you, then just reshuffle them all up and have another go. So that's really, really cool. One small thing, I love the artwork on the box. I mean, you can probably see that it's absolutely gorgeous. But when you get to the cards, they're very stark and plain. And I understand why they've done that. They've done that so that it's easy to read the table. It's easy to see what you've got and where you've got it. But it's a bit of a shame that some of the artwork didn't carry through, so it doesn't look as plain on the table as it does. One other small thing, I completely understand for cost reasons and also so they don't roll around all over the place, why they didn't go for coffee bean shaped cubes. I just wish they had. It would have been such a lovely thing to be actually moving the coffee beans around. But I get why they went for cubes. It's so much easier. It's so much cheaper. That's absolutely fine. I like the scoring. I really like the fact that if you neglect a couple of types of beans, you can basically score no points for those bonuses because you score your least amount of beans and your second least amount of beans. So if your least amount of beans is 0, you get 2 times 0. It's just not worth anything at all. So that's really fantastic. So I do like that. So yeah, I've really enjoyed my time with Cafe. I really like it. I would give this game a rating of about 70% because I like it. It scratches a lot of different itches that I have in gaming. It's not up there in like my best ever games because it has that ultimate feel of I am being driven by the luck of the cards and I need to play the most perfect game ever to get the really good scores. But it's a really fun game and one that I will happily introduce and play with anybody anytime. So yeah, so that's my review of Cafe. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I said, I'm Neil from Board Game Happy. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Board Game Happy, often at conventions. And if you ever see me, please come up and say hi. I'd love to meet everybody. And yeah, thank you very much for watching my video and I will see you on the next one. Okay, thanks.